Imagine a vibrant discussion between people that includes both openness and critical thought in the pursuit of truth. The Purchasing Truth podcast is an experience, a journey, an exploration of the impact that negative messages in politics and the media have on our families, community, society, and nation. Join your hosts, Bill Stierle and Tom to discover new concepts and language strategies that will reveal effective ways of establishing truth. This podcast series will tackle current events, leadership challenges, healthcare confusion, integrity in business, and many other areas that affect us all. Gain clarity and understanding of the various truth perspectives. Welcome to Purchasing Truth.
Welcome back to Purchasing Truth, everyone. I'm Tom Hazard, along with your host, Bill Stierle. And, Bill, we've talked many times in the past about how, I've said to you, hey, this has happened in the media, not in the media, in our world. This has happened. Here's an event. And is this now going to change people's opinions about their loyalty to Trump? And you're like, no, that's not enough. No, that's not going to do it. There's been one thing after another. However, there's been a bit of a seismic event, I think, now in the world, and that is the writing of this op-ed in Christianity Today by the editor of the magazine that's telling their opinion that Christians should not be loyal to Trump, and they're actually calling for his removal from office. And that's a big development. Would you agree?
Yeah, Tom, it is a big development. I think that if you finish that quote off, that the Christians should not be, and it's a should sentence, so it's got a little bit of pun to it. Should not read the whole thing. It should not be.
So this is Mark.
And 10 Commandments. Yeah.
Sure. So this is Christianity Today's editor-in-chief, and this is the organization that was founded by Billy Graham, the evangelist. Right. So Mark Galli wrote in his op-ed this past week that Trump should be removed from office, we believe, is not a matter of partisan loyalties, but loyalty to the creator of the 10 Commandments.
Yeah, that's it. You could bring your checklist out, say, well, yep, he's done. Yep, he's done. And we could do the forgiving God, that it's really, that part of it, or that there is a higher purpose for Trump doing that, putting judges in order to have more of a conservative court, which is, a belief of many people, because if you kind of make the court really conservative for years and years and years, then it doesn't matter what kind of, progressive or liberal thing that comes up. The court, the conservative judge that it sits in front of it, will overrule it and just send it back down, and the case won't be made enough. And then they're building a thing called precedence, that, this past judge has done this. Well, this judge was, doing it out of a different thing. So it can, and it does have a long-term dampering on, how do we do human rights when, the end justifies the mean, and which is a very, very difficult moral challenge. Does the end justify the mean? Well, there are certain things that I would say, yeah, the end does, but there are many, many, many things that, you do something in the short term and you are paying for it in the long term. And so that's a big problem in dealing with truth, and then the consequence of trust. And that's why, when we take a look at purchasing truth and the damage to trust, that's one of the circumstances that we're currently facing. We're really facing that. Yeah.
Well, so let's talk about that for a minute, because in a way, what Galli is doing, the editor-in-chief there for Christianity Today, is he is speaking facts and he is explaining things to the Christian community, which we have often said explanation doesn't help and facts don't help. So I want to read one more quote because he was interviewed
Please.
on
Mhm.
Friday by CNN, and he said, "We believe the impeachment hearings have made it absolutely clear, in a way the Mueller investigation did not, that President Trump has abused his authority for personal gain and betrayed his constitutional oath.
Mhm.
The impeachment hearings have illuminated the president's moral deficiencies for all to see." Well, I mean, I think it's no surprise to a lot of people, and certainly not to you and me, Bill, that when we saw the impeachment hearings, we thought it did that too. Except if you watch Fox News, they don't amplify any of the statements of
Yeah, or co- or
truth.
co- or cover those. Mhm. That's right.
Right. They cover the
The
right
spin.
and conservative talking points about how there's no quid pro quo and there's no crime here, and this doesn't rise to the level of impeachment. And that's the sort of tapping of the brain that half, well, not maybe not half, but a lot of America hears, and they think the impeachment hearings was a big nothing burger. But then, here the Christianity Today, which I think is read by an awful lot of conservative Christians, is illuminating the truth of those impeachment hearings. But is that going to be effective at the end of the day?
Well, this is where it becomes difficult because a lot of things, Tom, that you and I talk about is the emotional impact when a need of ours is getting hijacked or getting promoted or yanked in a different direction. And because truth and trust right now they're struggling a little bit. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's like a 7. Those two things are struggling. It's not quite the 8, 9, and 10 of authoritarians or oligarchs or dictators. It's not, because those are countries where 8, 9, or 10, that person has captured and or stranglehold truth and trust.
Right.
So what winds up happening is that there are two emotions that come directly from those needs: um, doubt and skepticism. Those are the two emotions that show. So if something inside your body doesn't meet your need for truth, the natural emotion is doubt. I feel doubt because I need truth. And I'm not sure what truth looks like. Oh, I'm going to take truth that I made up when I was 7. I'm going to use that truth, or wait a minute, I'm going to take the truth of this one article versus these 10 articles, or this one researcher over these 10 research. I'm taking that truth over those 10 truths because that truth makes it easier for me to think. This truth does not. This truth is more complex because there's 10 of them. I have to figure something out. My brain has to work. Who wants to work? So doubt is a convenient, way to not think, but it's also disempowering. Tom, can you do anything if you feel doubtful and skeptical?
No.
If it's dampening, because if you're sitting around with doubt, the clock is ticking. If you're sitting with skeptical, you're not doing much. You can't go canvas for somebody. You can't be a civic activist. You can't volunteer for something if you're feeling doubtful about the economy, if you're feeling skeptical about the leadership, it's
That's
a
what the
dampening.
Russian disinformation campaign in 2016 did so well,
So
is
well.
to create so much doubt and skepticism about Hillary Clinton, about, her emails, about, they made up all sorts of things about her. And that kept people home from voting, or it kept people from voting for her. So I hear what you're saying about how doubt and
Yeah,
skepticism
that's right.
can really paralyze you.
Yeah, I mean, Hillary's got her problems, but that many? You think they would have found out more about her? I mean, she testified for 11 hours on Benghazi. It's like, what were they doing? They're looking for the moment where there's a phrase that can be spun into doubt and skepticism. They're looking for a sentence that is not in alignment with the belief structure that they want to cultivate. And so when some of the congressmen were, asking questions during the investigations, you could kind of see that they were not interested in asking questions about the issue, about the truth. They were interested in planting phrases and thoughts that would cultivate doubt and skepticism in the process, the doubt and skepticism in the motive, instead of going like, there's something that just happened over here. Are you not going to look at that again? Now if I was, if there was the opportunity to coach people, you got to call it out. Oh, thank you, Mr. Gates, for pointing out and creating some doubt and skepticism. I'm glad we're having this trial so the doubt and skepticism can go away. If you call that out, if that sentence would have been launched 1, 2, 7, there's 14 different times that I would have picked on it. You go right after doubt and skepticism. Oh, so you're really feeling doubtful and skeptical that this truth at this time? Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Let's see what the facts will show us. And now all of a sudden you're back on point. You don't let doubt and skepticism linger inside the listener when somebody is doing a sentence that is causing the person's mind to go over here where that hesitancy and that it's a bias reinforcing narrative shows up. Does that make some sense? I mean, it's really fascinating, right?
It is fascinating, and I agree with you. The doubt and skepticism is key here, but I see it showing up in different ways because Trump on a daily basis is trying to sow doubt and skepticism in the integrity of the Democrats' impeachment hearings, investigation, the articles of impeachment, everything, and the process. Especially, all the Republicans have been, calling, trying to cry foul at the process because they don't have facts on their side.
Right.
And so that's one way doubt and skepticism is used. But here now, somebody from within their team, within Trump's team, a evangelical, editor of an evangelical leading organization and publication, is illuminating truth and now bringing in doubt and skepticism that staying loyal to Trump is actually in alignment with their faith.
Right.
And so he's throwing some doubt and skepticism out there. Well, not even, I mean, it shows up that way, I guess. It's not what he's saying, but he's saying, hey guys, we can't be loyal to Trump and loyal to our faith at the same time. That he is not in alignment with our faith.
Yeah. Are
And
you going to pick your faith, or are you going to pick your politician? Right now, with this article and with this magazine do that. And by the way, I think you mentioned, Tom, that they had a spike in subscriptions. Is that, what are those people saying over there? Because wait a minute, we need an off ramp real bad. And if we could just have some kind of off ramp with this guy, and the off ramp is you pick God over the president, even though there's 1 or 2 or 3 things that this guy is doing that our faith believes is valid. it's not enough to cover the 10 things or the 15 things or the 25 things that he has done that is outside our faith or morals or ethics, because that's what that's the way we roll, because we
Right.
follow these rules. They're the 10 commandments are kind of the 10 commandments, and I don't know, I think he's kind of like not done 7 of them.
Or
So
done. Yeah, he's definitely
nobody's done
violated a
more.
bunch of them.
Nobody's done more for religion than what I've done. It's like, isn't that like, didn't you just put yourself above God there? I don't know how you just did that. So that's there's
Well,
some problems there.
and
So
interestingly, and now I'm not going to be able
yeah,
to look him up because it's just coming to me. But one of the Republican representatives in the impeachment hearings, in the final debate leading up to the impeachment vote, actually made a statement about Jesus during that hearing, and really equated Trump with Jesus. What he was doing, he
right,
put them
yeah.
next to each
Pontius
other.
Pilate,
Yeah,
Pontius
you remember that?
Pilate,
Yeah,
Jesus, at least was able to face his
face his accuser, right?
accusers. Well, what the what the person left out, regrettably, is that he had the opportunity to face his accusers, but he didn't allow any of his people to face his accusers, and he buttoned down that he didn't allow anybody to testify, because they did offer him the ability to come in here and talk
Oh,
about the
Trump,
good.
you're saying? Yes, they
Oh
offered
yeah,
him the ability,
he
and he
did have the
decided.
opportunity to
Yeah.
face his accusers. It's like, well, yeah, Jesus, you could talk to the crowd and face your accusers, and Jesus says, no, I'll stay in jail. No, I'll stay over here. I'm not getting in front of that big crowd. Or no, I know, it's like, I mean, okay, so a lot of our listeners, it's so important for us to give a way out, because so many other broadcasts and news organizations just stir the pot, and then at the end of the show, all you just do is get a riled up person. So let's go to the solution and some understanding about what has just taken place.
Oh, I think that'd be
So,
great, Bill. Yeah.
so the solution is, first, the understanding is that the Trump voter has created a lot of certainty, a lot of stability, a lot of consistency and loyalty by that has been backed behind or is supported by their vote. It's and however they got there, I would call it the last 15 to 20 year trickling of hate and anger towards Democrats for what? For whatever. And those people are bad, and we're going to label, them as socialists and or communists, which Trump did the other day. So if we just label them, then we get to have we don't like that team because, even teams that do well, there's a group of people that don't like them very much. I mean,
Sure.
we could survey the nation, and there's a whole bunch of people, Tom, that don't like your Patriots. I'm just saying.
No, that's very true. They don't. They think they're
Because
cheaters, or
yeah,
they've labeled them cheaters, and
they look for something. They look for they look for some reason, some good reason why to really, dislike a talented coach and a talented quarterback and a talented coaching staff that figures out how to put it together every year. And and their defense might get them there again.
They
All
might.
right,
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Won the conference for 11th year in a row. Just
Levin's
saying.
yeah, I know, I know, I know.
All right, I'll stop now.
And by the way, my Dolphins are in that conference, and I'm slowly, anyways. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I think that it's anyways. Okay.
Well, the Dolphins will rise again, but okay.
They will. Yeah, the poor fish. Okay, so 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 certainty, stability, and consistency and loyalty. Notice in our football conversation, notice how certainty, stability, and consistency is what I had for the Dolphins in the 70s when they were winning. I was growing up as a kid, but kind of cheering for the Dolphins, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's like, hey, the Dolphins. And then you could do the same with the Cowboys, loyalty, Eagles fans, loyalty. Sure. Okay. So certainty, stability, consistency. Hey, we're doing good things here. Our team is doing good things here, right? All right. So notice how the feeling of confidence, inspired, enthusiasm, as you were talking about your Patriots, you could not help burst out 11 straight seasons. I mean, you couldn't help that. You couldn't help it because
guilty as charged.
The certainty and the stability and consistency. Well, if I put a MAGA hat on and I am doing the same thing inside my narrative, those Democrats are this, they're this guy makes me feel better. He's a decision maker. He is a businessman. He's a millionaire. And, God rewards people that are millionaires. It's like, that prosperity consciousness has a lot of problems to it because it does create a type of certainty, stability, and consistency and loyalty is that if I do good, I will get rewarded. And this is one of those languaging motivation tricks in our body that we play on ourselves is that, if I'm a good person, I'm going to heaven. If I'm a good person, bad things won't happen to me. And, gosh, I'm not sure if that's fully true. People have been known to be in the wrong place in the wrong time, have known to go off for war for the greatest reason ever and not to come back. And then later on find out the war that they went for was over something that they really didn't agree upon. And their family has to deal with the loss of the person and the loss of the reason why that thing happened. All right. So notice how confident, inspired, enthusiasm sounds like a Trump rally and a Trump crowd. That means there's a lot of stability, a lot of certainty, a lot of consistency. And that's how the brain really looks for its dopamine hit to come towards and grab the molecules of emotion that it wants to feel. If my self-worth is not doing good, Trump is a good answer. If my identity doesn't feel very good because I'm wondering what happened to my economy of my small town, and I feel better by listening to this guy, I'm going to vote for him because I feel better by it, not because he's the most moral person, not because he's the most thing. So it's very one directional. It's one directional loyalty. Your loyalty to the Patriots is one directional. Now,
yeah, I'm sure the Patriots wouldn't be very loyal to me.
Right. It is not coming back in your directions, right? Oh, here's our friend Tom. We know that he said 11 straight times on Bill's podcast. Therefore, we're going to give him Super Bowl tickets. It's just not going that way, Tom.
Boy, that would be lovely, though. Just saying. Oh my goodness.
It would be. There you go. Yeah, we'll go to Miami in February. Okay. So and people also wonder and need some understanding about the way faith works. If I have faith as a gambler, I have faith that this bet that I placed, because I'm a smart person, no gambler thinks they're a stupid person.
No.
They don't. they think they're a smart person because they won once 5 years ago,
Yeah.
and that could come around. That's why I'm playing the lottery. You know, my neighbor won one time, and I feel so good about doing that. So we want human beings want the possibility. We would like it, and that makes for great sales and marketing. Again, who do we have in the office? A sales and a marketing person.
Yes.
A branding person. I mean, all he does is talk sales, marketing, branding over Twitter. And people support that, even though some of those tweets are completely, they're not understandable at all, or really say something that might be against a person's value. But I feel better because it seems like he's speaking to me. He's talking directly to me. So the thing that has changed the political environment is, if I'm following these messages, this person's speaking to me. And Tom, you and I both know that your friends, your 5,000 friends on Facebook, Tom, are not your friends. All of them are not your friends. I'm one of your friends. I'm on Facebook, and that's one. I guess you could put me in the bucket of friends.
I have some that are, that's true, but there are many on there that I barely know from a business networking event or something.
Right.
So I would agree they're not real friends, all of them.
Yeah, but they come to you because they have some kind of certainty. They have some stability. They have some consistency. They have some loyalty that you inspired them somehow in a workshop that you did. And the same thing on my Facebook pages. Or in LinkedIn and things. People are, clicking for the search for connection, the belongingness that is missing. We're not going down to the local Optimist Club or any place right now to be loyal to our community and see who's in it and work with the people that are around us. We're not doing that. We're going through technology to get the connection, in multiple ways, texts and emails and stuff. So faith can be redirected. And that's one of the biggest challenges, is that with this article that we started with, is that, the faith was redirected for a time towards, the president, towards President Trump. And it's the faith is, I have faith and some certainty and some stability and consistency that this guy will do better than this woman. That's what they picked. They picked this guy over this woman. That's what they picked.
Well, when it's a binary choice, that may be an easy decision to make, right? It's this or that. But it seems that Trump has demonstrated over 3 years now,
right,
who he really is and what he believes. And what Christianity today is saying is that loyalty to Trump is not consistent with being a loyal Christian, and that even though in a binary choice, him versus her or him versus whoever the next guy is, now they're saying, hey, you know what? He should be removed from office. We can no longer align ourselves with him. We cannot be loyal to him.
Right.
That's a powerful statement on another level. So is this going to move the needle, Bill?
Well, the 10% of the people that are in this evangelical community will have this off ramp now. They now have a off ramp to say 10-20% has an off ramp that says, I can't let my other needs, my other values go under the bus anymore. This is not in alignment with integrity, and it is most certainly not. This person is not you know, um, um, in alignment with the majority of my belief structures. I think that the if I was coaching a politician at this moment, it would sound something like, um, there's a lot of values that the Trump voter voted for, but regrettably, most of them, their beliefs are not being honored by him at this time. Now, most see it because it's an all or none binary choice. The thing is that most of your values are not being honored here. Vote for the candidate that has most of your values. So
Wow.
then, and the reason why Joe Biden is staying at the top is because he has most of the values of, look at him, certainty, stability, consistency, and loyalty. See, he has those. And Bernie or Elizabeth and Buttigieg is he gains here. Buttigieg is the reason why he's in here, because he has certainty and stability and consistency that he's not going to, change an entire system, even though, in the next 30 to 40 years, the thing has got to flip over because the system cannot, our economy cannot carry the burden that it's currently carrying with
Sure.
the medical things. We can't keep doing it. If people are feeling an anxious and nervous and worried, scared regarding healthcare, we can't live like that. It's just not a viable, functional life experience. But you
I
know,
agree. Well, they're not going to tackle that right now because they want
you
to
know,
win the battle, the next battle being the next presidential election. But Bill, I want to go back to something you said a minute ago, and I want to propose something and see if you agree with it. Is that I think that there are there is a large percentage of Trump voters that really don't like him. They did vote for him. They cringe at who he is and what he does on a daily basis. And they have been thinking to themselves over the past, year or more, yeah, I'd really rather he wasn't our president, but I need to stay loyal because of these things he does. I think they've been looking for an off ramp, maybe subconsciously, but there's like, I have to stay with this guy. Now, this op-ed, like you said, gives them an off ramp. And finally, I think there's some relief where it's like, oh, I don't have to remain loyal to this person that I so disagree with in many ways. I'm now free to do that.
yeah. Now I can sit across from my family table and say, yeah, I voted for that guy, and but I didn't realize that he was going to go against my values, and I'm really glad I read that article because here's what my values are. And yeah, I agree with him politically here, but I can see that this would be a kind of a better way to go, you know. So
And I'm either going to support his removal or I'm not going to vote for him next time or something. And so this isn't, to me,
that's right.
I do think this could be a tipping point in swaying enough people
Hmm.
that voted for Trump, that have been on his team, that have been loyal to him, that I don't know that it's going to be enough to get the Senate, enough senators to turn and remove him from office necessarily.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
would, while it would be, um, it's certainly possible. But at this point in time when we're recording this, it's, during the Christmas and New Year's 2-week break the Senate has.
right.
There's a lot of time for people to talk around the family dinner table about these things, to reflect on it, and they're not being bombarded with daily sound bites of senators and representatives, you know, continuing to support whatever agenda they have, this thing landed at a time where it could grow and more people can take that off ramp before things get going in January.
The news cycle is down. It's the news cycle is covering the Macy's parade. The news cycle is, you know, doing all the wonderful things that the news cycle needs to do during the holidays, which is, play, Wonderful Life, do Christmas movies. I mean, that's the challenge, is that this time period is a time to reconnect with family. And the weird part about it is, and this is something that, if Trump just had a little bit of consciousness, is just do holiday tweets. All he needs to do is do holiday celebratory tweets during this time, and they would say he's not such a bad guy. Look at all these holiday celebration tweets.
Yeah, he's trying.
Just some holiday celebration tweets. Some, dude, some.
But he's incapable of I really believe he's incapable. The very fiber of his being is incapable of putting out a tweet about the holidays without taking a jab at the Democrats or somebody, without, twisting a knife a little bit. If you read every one of his tweets, at the somewhere in there, he has to inject something that, meets his need for acknowledgement and self-worth. He's not selfless in his tweets.
He is not selfless in his tweets. Yes, there is something in there, and everybody's waiting for. And this, we've talked a bunch in the past about how dopamine rises in the body, where there's a reward, a anticipation, and uncertainty. And he does and has created the experience of uncertainty. We don't know what he's going to say next. And what has happened inside the news media, and I'm going to say this is going to sound really junky, but the news media is addicted to the tweet. It's addicted to the next message. There, as whether it's Rachel Maddow or Stephen Colbert, or even Fox News folks that get surprised by it, they get a tweet and they go, well, there you go. And, or, Stephen Colbert, oh, Chopper Talk. What is Chopper Talk? What is the next thing that he's going to say that is going to be, outside that truth or normality of things? Rachel says, well, we had an entire different show for you today because of this tweet. We've had to change the entire show. She has said that at least, 24 times on her show. And I had to change my entire show because of this tweet.
And doesn't Donald Trump love that? Because he's controlling the narrative. They're reacting to him.
That's right. He's populating the media environment the way a reality show needs to do this right before the break. He's had training on bring the person back after the commercial. And what is that narrative to bring the person back? Well, deliver the line that creates a doubt. Well, I'm not sure if you're going to make it. Dun, dun, dun. Let's go to the commercial.
Yeah.
And it creates the uncertainty. So the way a truth has been purchased here is through this responsive narrative. The follower, the Trump advocate, is waiting for the next new way to defend the person or defend their vote or defend their self-worth because they voted for the guy. Meanwhile, the thing he just said and did is really against their value as a human being, or their value as a voter, or their value as a United States citizen, because they just voted the way someone would vote or believe in this leader that is doing damage to trust. See, Tom, if you and I are going to get something done, we've got to trust each other. Well, if Democrats and Republicans are going to do something, they got to trust each other. The big challenges that they faced, it really, to where it started, was Newt Gingrich is the one that started this noise of divide, conquer, scorch earth. It's like, if you're losing, we're going to let everybody know that you lose and you're a bad person because you've lost. Not because we just happen to outvote you, and the thing that we voted you out of is something that would help the country. It's never that talk. Just like a fan on the sidelines, and there's a pass interference called because the Patriot D-back hit the person early.
Oh, no, don't go blaming my Patriots for that. Team loyalty is about to show up here. No, remember, that was the New Orleans Saints and the who was the team, the
Rams.
LA Rams.
The Rams,
the Rams guy was the perpetrator of the pass interference.
Are you sure?
That team loyalty shows
wasn't?
Up where you try to throw my team under the bus?
That's the levity that we need to approach this from, because if you and I if I can't sit as a Dolphin fan, don't beat me up too much this year, and you as a Patriot fan, and can't do that and still have truth and trust between the two of us, we can't do that. Those are the two casualties. And I got to give a head nod to Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. You give a head nod to this. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like they do things.
And in the 70s, I will completely acknowledge Don Shula, one of the greatest football coaches of all time, and the Miami Dolphins are the only team to go start to finish in a season undefeated. No one else has done that. So you have that, Bill.
Thank you, Giants. Anyway, so
yeah, boy, was that painful. Twice. The Giants took that party away twice. All right. Anyway, those people that our listeners who don't like football are really, again, not going to be happy with this diversion. But anyway.
But the theme is solid. The theme is solid is that whether it's Republicans or Democrats, we got to get placed to where we're really talking over the truth piece. And I don't know. I have no idea who on the Republican side, who, other than Justin Amash, who is going to start back down to truth. Now, there's a new group of Republicans that are forming called the Lincoln Group, or whatever they're calling themselves, that are going back to truth as an advocacy, conservative values as an advocacy, and going to look to rebuild the party from there, because they know the damage that has just taken place.
They know their party's been hijacked, right?
They know their party's been hijacked. It's I think it's Steve Smith and I got the guy's name in a face, but I can't remember his name right now. But these are two guys I love. I mean,
is Mitt Romney aligning with these groups, or no?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet. Yeah, but he'll jump as soon as he can. As soon as he can get his off ramp. As soon as the big guy's not in charge.
Well, anymore, I mean, he's one of the few senators that is immune to the threat of being primaried by Trump, because Trump will be out of office. He'll, if Trump were to get reelected now, Mitt Romney's term would go through the end of 2024, right?
Yeah.
And because it's interesting, the people who are talking the most about all these things are either ones who have just left the Senate or the House, or have announced their retirement. Yeah. Anybody who's still in there is still
they're stuck,
needing to stay in line and show that loyalty to Trump, despite maybe their
if there was four if four of them said they wanted a real trial in the Senate, it really comes down to four. If seven of them said that they were going to vote for the impeachment, which then puts it over the majority, or whatever it does. Seven does. Seven of them really makes a magic number. It's 22 to have him, pack the bags and move out.
Yeah.
So can they get to 22? Yeah, they could get to 22. It's It's those um, individuals that could move in a way that would make a big difference. And Lamar Alexander is there. He's sitting there in a really kind of a junky place. His career is going to end on this particular piece about staying loyal all the way to the end, and which is upsetting because of such a high integrity person he is, or this is a point where the need for integrity is he's not checking that box at this moment. And they've got to check the box. They got these senators got to check the box of integrity. They just got to. And because all of a sudden their loyalty to the United States, they just put party over a country. They just did that,
Well,
and
and now that's being suggested, they're putting party over their faith.
that's good. That's great, Tom. I'm glad you looped that back around, because it's party over faith now. Yeah, that's exactly
It
right.
really is.
Yeah,
And
it's party
if
over faith.
these senators, congressmen, if they are all if they believe and want to be believed by their voters as being good, faithful Christians, now they've got a problem in that,
Yeah.
staying in alignment with both. That is going to be a very crooked line to walk, and not easy for them to do. And I think that at this time of year in particular, there are a lot of church services. There's going to be one on Christmas Eve. There's going to be one on Christmas Day, and that's in the middle of the week. You don't get 2 for 1 this time. It's not on
No,
Sunday.
that's
Then there's
right.
going to be another church service on Sunday. And you know what? That's 3 in a week. And the reality is that one on Christmas Eve is going to be all about the birth of Jesus. The one on Christmas Day is probably still going to be more about the celebration of the birth of Jesus. But when you get to that Sunday after Christmas,
Hmm.
that's where some of these priests and ministers are, this may weave its way into their sermons,
Yeah.
at least to be. And now they usually are loath to take political positions, but I would be shocked if this doesn't get mentioned, especially in a lot of the evangelical churches across the United States.
Yeah.
And people have to think about this. And like we said, there's not as much noise. There's not as much, even if the 24-hour media cycle doesn't take a break, people are taking a break from it because they're exhausted from it.
They are. There's an exhaustion factor. So I think, Tom, if we take a look at about having now empathy for the Trump
Yes.
voter,
Yes.
if we have empathy for the Trump voter, we have empathy that they feel confident because they have certainty. They feel inspired because they have stability and consistency. They feel enthusiasm because they have loyalty. And inside their bodies, they're meeting some really important things here. Um, Truth was not in that list. Spirituality was not in that list. Faith was not in that list. But they do have stability and certainty and consistency and loyalty for Trump based on Trump's consistent messages of, I'm here and I'm fighting the good fight. I'm fighting the good fight for you. I'm fighting for the vote that you gave me. But he's really not. But they are only hearing that I'm fighting for you. I'm fighting for your vote. Because that's the way it's filtered. And who doesn't want to feel confident, inspired, enthusiasm about the person that they voted to put in there? That finally they're not listening to a politician walk the line or be politically correct or be somebody that stays um, um, that doesn't really do the full truth, because the full truth is too difficult for people to hear straight out, and a opponent could take that truth and go, hey, you said that truth over there and we don't believe that truth. And that's why in the past politicians have had to, walk the line on immigration. They've had to walk the line on, social programs. They had to walk the line on money for the wealthy people, because the wealthy people are funding their campaign. you
Sure.
know
Yeah.
and they had to walk the line, and Trump just goes like, well, I'm going to scramble all this. I'm going to take the numbers that I needed to, pick the states that I need to focus on, and let these 6 states elect me as the president. And that's what wound up happening. And so now if you go into those battleground states, we're not seeing half the commercials in California as the rest of the nation is. I mean, they're seeing political commercials all the time.
Oh, I'm sure.
There's people there all the time. They're getting pounded in those swing states. So regrettably, regrettably, uh, uh, those human beings are more traumatized regarding truth and trust. They're more doubtful. They're more skeptical. They're more bitter. They're more anxious. They're more overwhelmed. Who wants to deal with this all the time? So the off ramp then is to have empathy. That who doesn't want to feel confident, inspired, enthusiasm? The certainty now goes to, I have certainty in the 10 Commandments. I have stability in my faith. I have consistency in the way I practice, helping somebody out rather than taking something away from somebody less fortunate than me. I have loyalty to my faith in my God. That's what I have loyalty to. I don't have loyalty to this person that's doing the opposite of those things. So that's where the off ramp is. Now, has any politician said it as cleanly as I have? No, not really. But because they're not dealing with a needs-based narrative, regrettably. So
Well, and I love the example you gave earlier, how if you were one of the Democratic candidates, how you could then, help win over that voter who
yeah,
has all these needs that aren't being met by Trump, all these
yeah,
values, and say, hey, you know what? We have those values too over here. And
right.
that would be brilliant.
Yeah. If I'm standing for integrity, this is what it looks like. And, if I'm standing for loyalty, this is what it really looks like. Loyalty to the nation looks like this. Loyalty to my faith looks like this. Loyalty to my party only looks like this. Tom, the Patriots aren't going to do anything for you unless they win again. But you might end this season in disappointment, and my Chiefs might get there. Just saying.
It might. It's happened before. It'll happen again. The interesting thing about the team loyalty, though, which is very, very significantly different, and I think healthy, is that every year it resets.
Every year it resets. The team loyalty resets. The way the political loyalty has been ingrained, it's been generational. Now the short-term scorched earth has been great for the Republicans for this short run, but the long term is, I got long-term Republicans going like, I'm voting across, because these guys, there's no way I'm sticking with these guys.
Yeah, I think whenever Trump is done, if that's in 2020 or 2024, whenever he's done, there is going to be a major shift and a big gaping hole that has to get filled, of a party that was built around this man that has no resemblance to what that party was in the past. And there's going to be a big identity crisis, and I think a
Yeah.
very interesting dynamic and a struggle for identity in that party.
Right.
Easy for me to say, but it just, he came in and hijacked the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah, the ability for them to get back to war, I mean, because the war party, the to bring that up, to just put that in the episode, I feel worried and concerned about our military right now. So, I mean, in the sense that they're going to be pressed into service just to save a political campaign. So I hope that's not true. But
Well, because that breeds what the most deep loyalty of anything, doesn't it?
That's right. That's right. So all of a sudden, it shifts into the lower part of the brain, which is we need to protect our country, and we're not letting a new person protect our country. We're going to take this person that we currently have in place. So it's a little unsettling. I just hope that there's safety for the environment, and the world stage doesn't escalate just to distract us.
Yeah, I hope so too. Although interestingly, and this is one way in which the current president is not in alignment with, I would say, historical, um, the party, his party historically, is that he's not a big fan of war.
He is not. He is not a big fan of war. The drone was shot down over Iran, and he didn't do anything about it. And and everybody was ready to do something about it, but he didn't do anything about it.
And probably pretty much any other Republican president in office would have.
Would have done something about it.
They would have. So that's, I think, fortunate. And the way these things seem to happen is when we have a president in office and there is a shift away from that president, usually means a shift away from that party. And certainly the other party is not going to jump fast into war. That's one of the reasons why I actually am somewhat of a fan of Pete Buttigieg, because he actually has experience serving in the military in combat situations, and he has a perspective of that a lot of others don't, and he is not one that wants to rush into a conflict either. So
that's right. That's right.
Anyway,
yeah, big thing. All right, well, more to come, Tom. This has been a heck of a run here, and I really feel appreciative of us taking this out for a spin, because having empathy for the Trump voter allows us to sit around the table with them over the holiday, right? It allows us to see what they're up to. They just like the certainty and stability and consistency and the strength of somebody making decisions, and they feel confident, inspired, enthusiastic about that. Who wants to feel doubt and skepticism? Well, what Trump has done is created truth and trust as a casualty. Therefore, I feel doubtful and skeptical about Democrats,
right,
instead of I feel doubtful and skeptical about what the issue is. And that's what the success has been over the last 15, 20 years or so, is that they've created way too much doubt and skepticism on the abilities of Democrats to lead. So that's what the Democrats are struggling with. And you can see it in the debates and things like that. That's a whole nother thing that we could get into, but they don't know how to create leadership and definitiveness in their language.
That's another good subject going forward. It'd be nice to talk about something a little more positive and forward thinking, vision setting, all that good stuff. We'll get more into that.
All right, Tom, more to come.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to this Purchasing Truth podcast. We trust that you have enjoyed this engaging and thought-provoking conversation. Our hope is that you've received value, found clarity, and broadened your truth perspective in this episode. If you did, leave us a review or visit our website, purchasingtruth.com. Join us again for another informative and content-rich discussion here at the Purchasing Truth podcast. Don't just accept whatever information comes your way. Join the discussion. Discover your own voice. Purchase your own truth.